Hello everyone, this is part 1 of What If Naruto Was Saved. This story is made by Akiho Tonoshi, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. In a forest, many shinobi were frantically fighting off the nine-tailed fox demon, mostly to delay it long enough to allow for their Hokage to prepare. The sound of a crying baby was heard as the Yondaime carefully lifted his son from his now deceased wife. She's giving birth. I sort of copied it from a few fanfics there are out there. Tears stained his face. I'm sorry, Naruto, but this is the only way, he whispered as he walked out of the house, only to see his students standing there. Let us take him there. You worry about getting the QB into the right place, said a younger Kakashi in a shaky voice, knowing what his sensei had to do. Kakashi, no. It's too dangerous for you, and I don't want to see another person I care for because of this, said the Yondaime sternly as he set Naruto down in order to flash through some hand seals. Kuchio's no jutsu summoning technique. In a puff of smoke, the boss frog, Gamabunter, appeared. Is it that time already? Questioned the frog boss sadly. He didn't need an answer as the Yondaime picked up the child and jumped on his back. Let's go, Gamabunter, stated the Yondaime. The frog, in one huge leap, reached the QB, now nearly halfway across the village. You think that a pathetic frog and your even weaker Hokage can stop something like me? Roared the QB. The QB is an old demon. I'm sure he knows all about the shinobi villages. But Gamabunter only jumped 20 feet to the right of the QB. The QB, mad that the frog could even dodge his attack, charged at them. Perfect, thought the Yondaime. He did a few one-handed seals, holding the child in the other, and shouted, Gyuko oike ichi no justu. Technique of freezing. The QB suddenly stopped in his tracks and try as he might, could not escape. What? I can't move. What did you do to me? The QB snarled. There was no answer as the Yondaime just started a huge chain of hand seals. Ha ha ha, I cannot be beaten, not even if the death god is the one to do it. The QB laughed manically, knowing that even if he went in the death god's stomach that he would return stronger than before, not seeing the child in the Yondaime's arms. I never intended to send you there, the Yondaime said as he finished his hand seals. You will be sealed inside this child. With that, the trap Yondaime set activated and the QB felt its presence fading. What? How? Could I not see the child? The QB began at a yell, lowering to something not even the Yondaime could hear. I'm sorry, whispered the Hokage again as he fell over, limp, on the frog, who then, using his tongue, lowered both of them onto the ground, before he vanished in a puff of smoke. Prologue end. 5 years after birth at the orphanage. Where is that demon boy? He'll pay for that, said the very angry manager of the unwilling orphanage that took the Jinchuriki in. Naruto was currently running for his life because he had asked for more food. Why do they hate me so much? He inwardly screamed, I only wanted more food. Naruto hid behind a wall and saw a trap door in the end hallway. I don't remember that being there, he said. But he opened it as quietly as possible and slipped in after shutting it after him. I have you now, demon brat, yelled the manager, knowing that it was end, but as he turned the corner he didn't see him anywhere. Nani? Where is that little brat? Asked the very confused manager. Where is who? A voice asked the manager. Ho Hokage-sama. He stuttered out in disbelief. No one, he said quickly recovering from his surprise. What brings you here? I came to check on Naruto, the elderly man said. Now where might I find him? He said as he started towards his room. I can't sense him in his room. He ran away, the manager bluffed, after he tried to attack me. You should have killed that demon when you had the chance. The Hokage turned around and just glared at him. I know he didn't just run away, and why are you carrying that bat, might I ask? The Hokage asked with a tinge of hatred in his voice, figuring what really happened. The manager, realizing he still had the bat out, quickly tried to hide it. No reason, just going to go play baseball with the kids. He slighting asked, hoping the Hokage would believe him. It's very doubtful that's true, but I can't prove anything, so Looking away, the Hokage asked, "So where is Naruto?" With worry in his voice this time. "I told you he ran away from me. I don't know where he went," the manager said again, this time with more hate in his voice, but the Hokage didn't seem to notice. I will look for him then," the Hokage said, walking away from the man, not caring what he said in return. The Hokage checked the young blonde's bedroom first, hoping that maybe he didn't try hard enough at sensing his power in there when he searched the entire top floor. Still not finding him, the Hokage went back to where he found the manager and said, "Okay, Naruto, it's safe to come out now." Naruto exited the trapdoor and looked at the Hokage. "How did you know I was in there, OG?" "Even I didn't know that was there," he said excitedly as he tackled the Hokage in a hug. "I could sense you behind there, Naruto. Now come with me, I have a surprise for you." Sarutobi responded with a chuckle. Naruto's eyes got as big as dinner plates and then a huge smile erupted from the blonde. "Really? What is it? What is it? Tell me, please." Naruto rambled, but was silenced by the Hokage. "Be quiet, Naruto, so I can tell you what it is," the Sandaime said. That shut him up quickly. "Good. Now I am going to let you live with me until I can get you an apartment for you to live in." Of course, that sent Naruto into an even happier mood, and you could hear his happiness all the way to the other side of the town. 3 years later, Naruto, Sarutobi yelled, trying to get the hyper blonde so settled down to tell him the news. "What is it, Oji-san?" Naruto asked, still as loud as ever. "I found you an apartment, Naruto. It's not too far from here, so I should be able to protect you. Would you like to see it?" The old man said calmly to the blonde, who was now almost ready to cry. But why can't I stay here?" Naruto asked, really not wanting to leave. "Do you want me gone or something, Oji-san?" he adds with tears threatening to fall. The Hokage didn't really have an answer for that, Naruto, was all he could manage to whisper. "Please, Oji-san, can't I stay with you? I don't want to go back out there," Naruto begged, almost tearing up. "They'll kill me if I'm on my own. Please let me stay." "Okay, you can stay here, Naruto," the Sandaime said after witnessing how much fear the villagers had caused in Naruto. Naruto, smiling broadly, tackled the Hokage in a hug like he did almost every day. "Thank you, Oji-san." Naruto cried in the Hokage's ear, almost making said person wish he wasn't there. After about 10 minutes of a rather painful hug from Naruto, the Hokage said, "Naruto, I have to leave now, be careful, okay?" But before he heard the response, the Hokage disappeared in a puff of smoke. "Oji-san, why do you always just run off like that?" Naruto questioned to the emptiness left behind, now once again in a sad mood. Forgetting why he was so unwilling to leave, he went for a walk. Before Naruto realized it, he was halfway across the city. He found himself in the park. It was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon and there were children playing everywhere he looked. He did not dare go and try to play with them. He learned not to do this since the last times he was brought here by the Sandaime. They all rejected him, and so he turned around and started walking away, not seeing the person behind him, and bumped into her. They both fell onto the ground. "I'm really sorry. I wasn't watching," he apologized quickly, standing up and offering his hand to her, smiling awkwardly. It's okay," she assured him, taking his hand and getting up, blushing. "Arigato go gozaimasu," she said, looking down and poking her fingers together. Naruto, for the short amount of time he could, looked into her eyes and saw something that wasn't hate or pity or whatever else he gets. It was of a normal person looking back at him. "What's your name?" he asked. Hyuga H Hinata Anyu. She answered and asked. "Hinata, what a nice name." Naruto thought. "Say, Hinata-san, would you like to play with me?" "Oh okay," she said, and they both go and do whatever it is you kids are out there, both having the time of their lives. Until someone abruptly stopped them with a yell of, "Hinata, get away from that demon." Came the yell from the entrances of the park. "Oh Otusama," Hinata said, turning around with fear in her eyes, wondering what her father was doing there so early, and ran over to him. "Gomenasai o Otu-san. Come with me, it's way past your curfew." Hiyashi said, coldly taking his daughter by the hand and dragging her off to the Hyuga compound, not even looking back at the boy that was there. Hinata, on the other hand, looked back at Naruto and waved goodbye. Waving back, Naruto kept his fake smile up until she was gone. When did it get dark? He thought and started running back to his house. The only problem was, he caught the attention of a few radical villagers. As he was running, a villager grasped him and threw him into the alleyway. "We have you now, demon," said the one of the villagers, of which were at least 40 sort of surrounding him. "Let's K him," yelled villager. "I call first dibs," another said. But before they could do anything further, a man in full black appeared. A few minutes before with the black person, not trying to be racist. What should I do?" pondered a man that was sitting on the roof of a house. "What was that?" he said quietly as he heard the villagers yelling. He walked to the side of the building to see a small boy no older than 8 cornered by about 40 angry villagers. "Aha, this'll be fun," he thought as he jumped down. To Naruto. Naruto, thinking he was going to right then, closed his eyes, not wanting to see what was going to happen. He felt no punch nor heard any movement, nothing. He slowly opened one eye to see a man in front of him, in full black form-fitting shirt, showing off his well-formed muscle, and baggy pants, wielding a solid steel scythe with points at both ends, and red hair that fell to his end around his entire head. Naruto only stared at his savior. "Move. We have to K the demon," yelled one of the villagers, exerting a malicious smile from the newcomer that scared most of the villagers. "Oh, and which demon would that be? Me, or him? Such weaklings think they can harm a true demon." He laughed out eventually. He stopped laughing and looked at the terrified child. "You there, boy? Why were they after you?" he asked. I do don't know," Naruto managed to say without dying from fright. Now noticing that his savior had his hair completely off on the right side, making his right eye visible while still hiding the rest of his face. Interesting," he said. "This boy is who I have been looking for. He possesses the QB." He looked at the child in the eyes, and the boy, hypnotized by the red eyes, could not look away. "I am not here to hurt you, in fact I want to train you," he said with a small evil smile that he could not suppress. Luckily the boy's eyes were locked on his red-slitted eyes. "Why do you want to?" Naruto asked, clearly still frightened by the man who he could not stop looking at. "You remind me of myself," he said, sheathing the scythe. "And the QB told me to, not to mention him," he added in his thoughts. "And I can't see myself get beaten so easily." He again held back an evil smile. "So what do you say, I mean, child?" I don't know," Naruto says, looking away and getting ready to run. "Come on, Kit, take him up on his offer. I won't let him hurt you." Who are you?" Naruto asks to seemingly nothing, but the person in black knew all too well what he was talking to. "I am the Kyuubi no Kitsune. Brat, I was sealed inside of you 8 years ago." What, that's impossible. The Yondaime Hokage defeated the QB when he attacked Konoha. Ha. Did history eversay he K the Kyuubi? I am Kyuubi, I am far too powerful to be defeated by any mere mortal. Chuckling in amusement, the scythe wielder said, "Maybe you should talk to your demon inside of your head. It would draw a lot less attention to you, child." Nani, how do you know what I'm talking to?" Naruto asked, realizing the QB was sealed in him and was talking to only him. "Foolish brat. You haven't realized who he is yet. You are pathetic," the QB roared inside of Naruto's head. "No, I haven't, Fox team. Tell me," Naruto yelled at the demon. Why should I tell you anything? But you can trust him not to hurt you, or I will see to his punishment." "Okay." Naruto stood up from where he had fallen and looking around realized the power of the man in front of him. "I still don't know. Let me think about it, please," Naruto says. "Take as much time as you need, boy, my offer will still stand," the scythe wielder said as he turned around and started to walk away. "When you decide, let me know." He tossed a whistle to Naruto while walking. "What is this for?" Naruto asked as he looked at it. Getting no response, the blonde looked up and saw the man in black, didn't mean it like that, was gone. This must be something to contact him with, the boy thought as he started to walk home, realizing how late it was getting. Oji-san must be worried. Pocketing the whistle, Naruto ran home. Back to when Hiashi dragged Hinata away from Naruto. Hinata was heartbroken that her father had done that. Wondering why he called her new friend a demon, she lagged behind him. Hiyashi was annoyed that his daughter wasn't walking with him like she should have been. Picking her up, he then, ninja style, jumped on the roofs and started going faster than ever before, arriving at the Hyuga compound within 2 minutes. He threw open the doors and walked to Hinata's room. Throwing her inside, he yelled, "Stay there and don't come out until I say, so go it." Not waiting for a response, he s the door and walked to his room. She is so weak. By now she should have at least been able to activate her Byakugan. No matter, her sister can replace her. He thinks as sits down on his bed, and then lies down and eventually sleeps. Back with Hinata. Why is Oto-san so mean? She asks herself as tears started to run down her face. At least all he did was yell at me this time. She walked over to her bed and lied down, hoping tomorrow will be better. With her luck, it'll be worse. Naruto-kun, gomen, but I don't think I'll be allowed to see you again. Hinata thinks as she drifted off to a restless sleep. Over to Naruto. Naruto finally gets to the Hokage's residence, which he's living in, and opens the door to find nothing. Is Oji-san still at his office? He thought to himself as he walked in and went to his room, only to see a light go on and the Sandaime standing in the room. He doesn't look at him for long and just walks past, hoping he wouldn't have to talk. Naruto, said the Sandaime, getting his attention. What happened? He asked, clearly seeing the blonde's sadness and a tinge of another element that almost seems like thoughtfulness. The village's T tried to attack me, he said in a solemn voice, still not looking at the Hokage. Naruto, thought Sandaime as he brought Naruto into a light embrace. I'm sorry I could not stop them, he said sadly. It's okay, someone else help me. Naruto said in a bit of a happier voice, can I go to bed now? Naruto asked. Someone else. I wonder, he thought, letting Naruto go. Yes, good night, Naruto. He replied. He heard Naruto say, good night, back as he retreated to his bedroom, leaving the Sandaime to ponder what or who could have saved him. Eventually, getting nowhere, he retiring to sleep. Hiyashi opened the door to Hinata's room. Looking in, he saw the sleeping form of his daughter. He stepped into the room and closed the door behind him. He walked up to Hinata's bed and threw the covers off. He picked up Hinata by the front of her jacket, she didn't change, and threw her across the room. She hit the wall, hard, and quickly woke up fully. She looked up and saw the rage in her father's eyes. Knowing she was going to receive another beating, tears started leaking out of her eyes as she closed them tight, wishing that he wouldn't do this anymore. I didn't punish you properly last night. Hiyashi started, trying to keep his voice low. But now, however, he was interrupted. Do nothing, Hiyashi-san, said a feminine voice with a demonic tinge. As she landed in front of him, she smirked, taunting Hiyashi with the san. How dare you, wench? He snarled with venom dripping from his words. Hinata, hearing her father's words, opened her eyes and looked at beautiful girl in front of her. With tight black pants and equally tight red shirt, she showed off an ample chest and fine curves. Tied around her shoulders was black cape, with a red dragon twisting around a white rose. 2 swords about 3 feet long each were in hand at the ready, with their sheaths on her legs. Black hair with red streaks flowed elegantly to just over her waist. Knowing full well that Hiyashi couldn't possibly hurt her, she charged at him with one blade extended, only to be blocked with the chiton, though the force of her blades pushed Hiyashi back nearly a foot. Hiyashi then charged at her, bringing a hand up to strike her, only to find a sword in his path. The mysterious girl sheathed her swords with a pleased smile, then turned around to face Hinata. Ohio, Hinata-sama, she beamed in a pleasant voice while she bowed to the heiress. I'm sorry for not getting here sooner. She apologized, offering Hinata her hand, as her chakra, glowing red. Who are you? Hinata asked dumbly, wondering who could defeat her father so easily, wondering if this was all just a bizarre dream. Taking her hand to get up, she looked into the girl's brown eyes and mesmerized, couldn't pull herself away. I am your guardian, silly girl, she said in a playful voice. If you want him to live, you might want to get him to the hospital, she said, stressing the if, and jerking her thumb towards Hinata's father. Of course, no one would know exactly how if he didn't, she trailed off, further explanation unnecessary. Hinata, now with wide eyes, ran over to her father. You might not be the best, Oto-san, but, can you heal him? Hinata questioned, not wanting, even if he was abusive, for her father to s. I don't know why you want him to live, but I can. She said with a sigh, shaking her head as she walked over to Hyashi's unconscious form. Doing a few hand seals, she allowed red chakra to cover her hands as she reached Hyashi and bent down to begin the healing. Within seconds the ribs were healed and his wrist wound closed, leaving no evidence he was in a fight. Happy now? She asked. Arigato. Hinata says, but, if I stay here, now he'll just beat on me more, she thinks. Ano, she says to the now retreating form of her protector. Hi, she responded, turning around to look at Hinata. If I stay here, heal, she stumbled around with her words, looking down. How can I say this? She looked up. See, can I go W with you? She asked, poking her fingers together, blushing. Of course, she shouted just a little too loud. Clasping her hands together, she blushed slightly. I mean, yes you can, that was the point of my coming here, dear. I was trying to get you away from your abusive father, and maybe him while I was at it. She said the last part too quiet to hear, and smiled genuinely at Hinata. Arigato. Hinata responded, blushing even more now and looking down. She felt someone's hand on hers, stopping them from poking together. Looking up she saw that her new guardian's hands were almost dragging her by the wrist out of the room, then out of the complex, after which she was picked and carried bridal style, much faster than she could see, to the other side of the city, almost to where Naruto lived. Hinata was then set down and the one who had been holding her walked to where a man had just appeared. Hello there, beautiful. Is this Hinata? He asked the sword wielder who, upon reaching him, hugged the red-haired man tightly and locked her lips onto his. Yes, that's Hinata-sama, was her response after breaking the K. Where's Naruto-sama? She asked, getting the full attention of Hinata, who had been looking away, blushing intensely, at the shows of affection. And Naruto-kun is coming too. Hinata thought to herself, looking down, blushing, and poking her fingers together. I guess I will be able to see you again, Naruto-kun. She continued to think on this subject until she heard the voice of the man standing on the rooftop with her. He is still thinking on whether or not to come with us, though I doubt he'll refuse, the man said. Just then he heard a shrill whistle pierce the air, a whistle only his trained ears could hear. I have to go, love, I'll be back soon, he said, letting go of the woman in front of him and jumping away to the Hokage's apartment. With Naruto a while back. Rays of light shone through the closed curtains of a room. A young boy shut his eyes tightly, trying to sleep longer, but losing this battle, Naruto bolted upright, feeling an object in his pocket. Naruto reached into his pocket to pull out the whistle. That's right, that man offered to train me, but, can I trust him? Naruto placed the whistle on the desk, still thinking on this topic. He sighed and decided that he might as well wake himself up before making any life-altering decisions. Coming out of the shower, Naruto dried off and hurried to his room, grabbing another pair of his orange-blue outfit and black undershirt. He walks over to the whistle, pulling on his clothes. What do I have to lose? He more or less stated as he brought the whistle up to his lips and blew on it. Nanny, did it work? Why didn't I hear it? He asked himself as he heard a knocking on the window, startling him. He looked up, seeing the man that saved him just yesterday, and walked up to the window to unlock it and let the man in. Well, Naruto, have you decided what you want to do yet? He asks in his manly voice, forgetting he didn't know his name at their last meeting. Why yeah, I want to go with you, but can we see Hinata-san before we leave? Wait, how do you know my name? Naruto questioned him after realizing what he had called him. Well, what kind of a sensei would I be if I didn't even know my student's name? He answered with his own question. Oh, and seeing Hinata won't be a problem, he said, letting off a small smile that seemed almost out of place on his face. I guess you're right. Naruto's responses. Okay, I'm ready, he added, starting to walk out the door. Wait, Naruto, I'll carry you out the window, he said, picking up Naruto. He jumped out the window, leaping towards where he was before he got Naruto, arriving there in record time. He set down Naruto and walked over to the sword wielder, again pulling her into a hug. En Naruto-kun, Hinata says shyly, poking her finger together and blushing again. She looks down. Oh ohio go gozaimasu. Hinata-san? He asked, looking at her short blue-black hair, gray sweater and baggy black cargo pants. Are you coming with us too? He shouted excitedly. Shush. It'll be bad if you alert the whole city. Naruto-sama, Hinata-sama, we need to get going. You can get reacquainted later, said the sword wielder. Come on, I'll carry Hinata-sama, you carry Naruto-sama. She told her lover as she walked away from him, and over to Hinata, picking her up bridal style, and walking to the edge. She looked back and sees the red-haired man doing the same, and then takes off at Mach 5. A.N. Lol Star Trek. They didn't stop until they reached the border of Fire Country. Upon their arrival, they set down the passengers, and started searching around for materials to make a shelter with. You two stay here, we'll be back with food and set up a shelter, said the scythe wielder as he walked off with his lover into the woods to gather what they would need for the night. Nibby, report. He thought through a mind link. In Suna, a child no older than 8 was sitting in a park. If you could call that desolate place a park, with no grass, just sand and what one could barely make out of a jungle gym with a rope, ladder, a side, a pole, and a few swings. The child sat on his accustomed place on the swings, staring into nothingness, while the other children and the adults avoided him, glancing at him fearfully from time to time. Nibby, report. Someone hiding in the shadows heard in her head. Growling in frustration, she almost tried to rip her head off. Shut up, B, I've only just got here. I found my target, now leave me alone and focus on your own target. The clearly irritated woman yelled back on the link. Why did I ever agree to this? She sighed, thinking up a way to talk to the red-headed kid who was currently crying in the middle of the park. We have already got them both, we will meet you at Myaoshu-sama. Replied the voice at the other end of the link. Just shut up. The Nibby mentally shouted back, closing the link. If I just approach him maybe it would work, she thought. She started walking over to the boy. Reaching him, she put a hand on his shoulder only to have it blocked by sand. Shukaku is rather protective, isn't he? She thought. Gaara felt his sand shift to his shoulder. His eyes flickered to the side, seeing a girl with shoulder-length dirty blonde hair, form-fitting dark blue clothes and deep green eyes. Who are you? He asked in an icy voice. I am Makiko. Are you okay, little one? She asked in a caring voice, bringing her hands to hug him only to have his sand stop her again. Run, kid. She'll kill you if you get too near. She has that power. Run for your life. The Shukaku yelled in Gaara's mind. He grimaced, bringing one of his hands up to clutch his head. No. The sand has always been there before, and it won't stop now. Nobody can hurt me. What's wrong? She asks with more worry than before, this time grabbing Gaara in a hug despite the sand barrier. Is Shukaku afraid of me? She wondered. You see, she can get around the sand barrier. Run for it while we can still escape. Shukaku yelled again. No, she can't hurt me. She can't hurt us. Gaara yelled, not paying attention to the fact that Makiko has gotten past his sand barrier and was hugging him. It went on like this for a while, until Gaara finally got the Ichibi under control. Are you okay now? Asked Makiko, voice now thick with worry. No child should have to go through this. How did you get past my sand? Gaara asked in stutters, now, fearing that the Shukaku was right. I don't know, she lied, noticing that everyone else had long since ran away in fear that Gaara was having one of his episodes. Maybe you let me hug you. She thought out loud. Impossible, was Gaara's rather point-blank response. Gaara's hands had been at his side the whole time after suppressing the Shukaku. He stepped backwards, breaking the hug. What do you want? Gaara asked in a flat voice. I came here to offer you a second choice. Come with me and I'll train you to use the Shukaku and how to suppress him successfully. She said, looking at Gaara's eyes, smiling happily. Why? Gaara asked again, sounding suspicious. Was this another one of his father's tricks? He stepped back again. Because I can't stand seeing a child suffer like this, she answered truthfully for once in her long life. So, will you? We could even go to somewhere a lot more beautiful than this desert, would you like that? She asks, hoping Gaara will come with her, so she didn't have to resort to force. Gaara's hard eyes softened slightly at the earnestness in the girl's voice. He blinked, and then nodded slowly. Where will we go? He questioned, stepping forward slightly. Well, right no, I suggest we run and think later. Makiko says as 3 Anbu squads gathered around them menacingly. She picked up Gaara bridal style and took off as fast as she could go, easily outrunning the ANBU, as even elites couldn't stand against a demon. When she stopped, she had already passed the border of the desert and was walking, not even out of breath, into the vast forests. How about we stay here for the night to think of where we'll go, Gaara? She semi-questioned Gaara. Okay, was the child's response, finding a tree to sit down next to. How do you know my name? How do you know of Shukaku? Gaara asked, genuinely intrigued that she would, or even want to, know about him. I had heard of a kid that had the Shukaku sealed into him at birth, and so I looked into it and I found out your name, where you lived and everything. She answers, walking around. We need a fire and some shelter as well. Let's get that fire started then. She walks up to tree that wasn't near Gaara, does some hand seals and muttered something under her breath. The tree fell to the opposite of both of them, and as it hits the ground it broke into many pieces of firewood. I see, but why? Gaara asks, wondering why it seemed that all of that information about him had been gathered so easily, and why she had wanted to know about him. Because I know what it's like to be hated all your life. And I didn't want you to go through the same thing. She answered, gathering up some of the pieces and putting them in a circle-ish shape, and doing a few more hand seals. Kaiten, Gukakyu no Jutsu. Fire release, Grand Fireball technique, a ball of fire was launched at the pile of wood. The wood caught on fire instantly, creating a huge bonfire. I'm going to go see if I can find us some materials for a shelter. I'll be back, don't worry. She reassured Gaara before walking off into the woods with the fire blazing. Gaara didn't reply, only continuing to stare into the flickering flames. It should be acquired, she says over the now-enabled metal link. Back in Konoha with Hiashi. Hiashi's eyes opened slightly. Damn, who the hell was that be? He mentally cursed, getting up from his slumped position in Hinata's room. Odd. There are no injuries from the fight at all. Byakugan. He activated his blood limit and looked at himself. Seeing no wounds at all, he then looked around for a clock. 12 p.m. Damn it, I must have been out for 4 hours. He walked to the door and opened it. Hiashi-sama, there you are. We've been looking for you all over the place. A random Hyuga said, rushing over to the clan head in relief. Well get everyone to stop looking. He irritated. Where is Hinata? He asked, hoping that Hinata was still around there somewhere. I thought she was in her room, he responded, now looking anxious. I'll start looking immediately, he said, starting to run off. Wait, gather the council, I'll get people to find Hinata. Hiashi ordered, walking off to the center of the Hyuga compound, where a device was that contacted all Hyuga to go there, except the council and other high-ranking Hyuga. Hi, the Hyuga stammered, running off to find the council. Running through the compound, he knocked on every one of the council members' door. Hiashi-sama would like your presence in the council room. With Hiashi again. Hiashi walks up to the device and channeled chakra into it, creating a huge ringing sound that could be heard throughout the entire complex. Every low-ranking Hyuga within earshot of the device came running to the center of the mansion. After a while, when Hiashi believed that all of the Hyuga that were presently in Konoha had gathered, he announced, my fellow Hyuga, just today a stranger came, my daughter Hinata. We needed to track down Hinata, which in turn, will lead us to her captor, and then we can get our heir back and K the one responsible. Though Hiashi had no plans to keep Hinata as the heir, he knew saying this would make his men more motivated and he wanted revenge. He had also conveniently left out his defeat to keep face. Before with Sandaime. The Hokage woke up at about 10 o'clock a.m., and made breakfast, and placed the food on the table before going to wake up Naruto and Konohamaru. First he walked into his grandson's room and shook him awake, and then walked to Naruto's room only to find him missing. Naruto, are you hiding? He called out. Getting no response, he felt for Naruto's chakra, but not sensing him anywhere he started to panic. Sarutobi then ran down the stairs, saying, I'm sorry Konohamaru, I have to go sooner than usual. He disappeared in a puff of smoke, leaving behind a sad Konohamaru. Arriving at the Hokage's tower, he got his magic globe, channeling chakra into it, he searched for Naruto. Not finding him, he issued an order to the Anbu, find and bring back Naruto alive. In sooner. The Kazekage is pacing around his office. Damn, where could have that woman gone with my weapon? Just then he heard a knock on the door. He walked to his desk. Come in, he said to the person on the other side of the door. Two Anbu walked in and addressed the Kazekage. We had 3 squads in pursuit, but she went much too fast for us. We now have 1 team tracking them with 4 others at the ready. We have received no word from the tracking team as of yet, one of them said, walking away. And why are you staying here? Asked the Kazekage in a bit of an annoyed voice. He sat behind his desk and started to do some paperwork. I want to offer my apologies. I was there when she first talked to Gaara, but I did not think it would escalate to this, and when he was fighting with his demon, I ran. The Anbu said, looking down, not once thinking of what his punishment might be, out of fear. The Kazekage looked up. I see, under normal circumstances I would punish you, but with our trump card gone we'll need all the help we can get. Dismissed, he said, looking back at his paperwork he had yet to complete. With this I'll have even more work to do, he thought, sighing mentally. 2 people, a male with a scythe and a female, carrying 2 swords in sheaths, were walking through the bushes, occasionally picking up objects from the ground. Ichibi acquired. They both heard in their minds, so soon. They thought simultaneously. Good. We will see you soon then, Nibi. One of the 2 thought over the link that was activated, both returning to reality. They stopped and turned around with arms full of random items they found on the ground. They reached the 2 children that were talking about God knows what. Hey, you 2, we're back, stated the woman as she and the man dumped the stuff that she was carrying in her arms. They started to pick up certain pieces and place them all around in no real order or shape, leaving rather huge holes everywhere. Don't you think a shelter would have to be better than that? Asked a blonde child that was at the camp before the other 2 arrived. Picky, are we? Asked the man. Don't worry, we're not done yet, he added, starting a chain of hand seals. He then mumbled something that nobody could hear, and all of the tree limbs and other objects started to meld together, making a much more solid hut, with no windows and only a door, that reached up about 3 stories high. Shugoi, said the female child in awe. How did you do that? She asked, not believing her eyes. That's a secret, said the woman in a playful voice. We will teach you how to do that soon enough, but right now let's enjoy our time in this beautiful forest. She said in a happy voice. She turned around and jumped at the scythe wielder. Catch me, she squealed, landing in his outstretched arms, and him. Hey, I don't want to see you to make out. Get a room, shouted Naruto in his usual loud voice, looking away in fake disgust. Maybe we will, said the Hachibi. Walking over to the cabin, the black-haired Sanbi still in his hands, he opened the door. You 2 have fun out here then, okay? He said, walking in and closing the door. So, what are we going to do, dear? The Sanbi asked in a giddy voice. I say we spy on those 2 and think of ways to torment them from a distance. She says in a half-joking voice, not actually planning on carrying out her plan. The other person chuckles. Is that all you think of, love? Tormenting people with practical jokes? He says, still laughing slightly. Not entirely, she said, and him again. Jumping out of his arms and pulling him up to the top of the cabin. Care to jump off? She questions him, giggling with glee as she holds onto his shoulders and lets her body fall as far back as her arms could reach, forming a sloppy V. Jump with me, she shouted, trying to pull the Hachibi down with her. The laughing Hachibi grabbed her arms and pulls her in, hugging her. If you insist, he said as he jumped off the cabin, letting go of the Sanbi halfway down, then started to do all sorts of different aerobatic things, almost making a show out of it. As they came closer to the ground, they prepared themselves for the landing that was going to hurt. Back with Naruto and Hinata. Well, that was odd, Naruto says, looking over at Hinata. So what do you want to do, Hinata-san? He asked, ignoring his building curiosity as to what they were doing in the cabin, walking closer to her. Ayano, she started, trying to think of something when she heard a scream from above them, a scream not of horror but one that could almost resemble laughter. They both looked up to see 2 people falling rapidly, one with what almost looked like a cape behind them, though they were still too far up to make out much. Oh, we'd better get back, Hinata-san. Naruto said, stepping back 10 feet. Hinata did the same thing. The free fallers shifted their position, almost as if they were standing on air. Landing on the ground, the scythe wielder hit feet first and brought one hand down to help support him, with his knees bending. Damn, that kind of hurt, he grimaced, falling into a sitting position as his muscles were torn from the fall. But well worth it, darling, purred the Sanbi, who had fallen, mimicking everything the scythe wielder did, only adding, she crawled over to him and put her head on his chest. What the hell was that? That scared the S out of me. Naruto yelled as loud as he could, hoping he'd be able to break them out of the spaced out love, so to speak, or type. But still very concerned. Ayano, please don't do that again, Hinata says with concern obvious in her voice. Ah, grinned the other girl. You two care about us that much, she added, looking at them as if they had said the most important thing in the world. Stop them, dear, said the Hachibi, now starting to stand up with her still in his hands. I think I'm going to call it a night. He set the Sanbi in his arms down and walked off to the cabin. Walking in and closing the door, he then walked to the other side of the cabin and took out his scythe. Through the wall he walked out the other side and then took off, sheathing his scythe, at full speed. Off in a random location with an old man. Looking down the road, the man saw a fast approaching figure. He seemingly ignored the figure in favor of walking to a chair made out of a tree itself. He sat down overlooking a huge field with flowers and grass overgrowing it, the grass as tall as the biggest pet dog, with animals all over the 60-hectare field. Hachibi, the man said in an unreadable voice, why, have you come here by yourself? You should be getting acquainted with your future student, he added in a tired voice, if you truly wish this world to live, that is. Mayao-sama, you know I do that I came here for a different reason, said the now identified figure. The Akatsuki have formed, Kimimaro is in the hands of Orochimaru, and his switch is imminent, added the Hachibi. Then stop him, I cannot help you with these affairs, you know that, he replies in a slow pace, looking out at the meadow. You can outpower Orochimaru by yourself. But I need to be with my student and my love, can you please call Shichibi? He did start that clan after all. Hachibi asked, now kneeling at his lord's feet. Stop being so humble, he said. The scythe wielder stood up. I will call him, he will stop. Orochimaru, do not worry, Hachibi, I will not let him disgrace his creation. Finished the old man, as Hachibi took off to his previous location, leaving the old man to his thoughts. Shichibi, I request your presence in the Great Retrieve. Every demon heard the mental link, -1. As you wish, Mayao-sama, said a Furin voice back over the link. The Grand Demon sat back in his makeshift chair, looking out at the peaceful meadow. If all humanity was like this, maybe I would do more to stop him, he thinks, starting to zone out. He hears the approach of a person, the aura clearly demonic. I am here as you requested, Mayao-sama, says the person, kneeling at his master's side, waiting for what he wanted to say to him that he could not over the link. Shichibi, Mayao said, not looking over to his subject, how many times will I have to tell you, do not bow before me? Gomen nasai, Mayao-sama, he says, standing up and walking to the front of his master, waiting patiently again. But thinking that if he had to wait much longer he might freak out. Your clan, the Kaguya, Kimimaro, is with Orochimaru, he is planning to switch with Kimimaro, he says, now looking up at the demon in front of him. Do not disgrace your creation. IIIIW was not aware that any were even any still alive. I will tend to this problem, thank you Mayao-sama. Shichibi replied with a look of shame on his face. He bowed to the man and quickly ran off in a different direction from which he came. I wonder, will my demons be able to correct their mistakes? He asked to the field in front of him, and as if in response a light, but very cold breeze started up and the animals got scared and ran off. Is he this impatient to change the weather? He wants to start his rampage already, he thinks, looking around for a way to seal the field off from the wind. The land of water. A person is sitting on the side of a bridge. Tear-stained cheeks, ruffled hair, and tattered clothes told all passerbys that the child was homeless. The wind started to pick up, making the kid shiver, wrapping cold arms more tightly around cold legs. The wind seemed to s down and then the child stood up and tried to find a place to sleep before the imminent rain began. Finding a house with a roof coming out far enough to block at least some of the rain, which is now pouring down, she huddled to the corner of the building, which supplied the most cover. The droplets of icy rain splashed onto cold, numbed skin, as the child lowered her head into her knees preparing for a long night outside. Suddenly, the girl felt warmer and stopped feeling the raindrops. She raised head out of her legs and saw a woman in very warm-looking clothes hugging her, with an umbrella hoisted in the air. "Hello there," said the woman in the proper clothes for the weather with a slight smile. "I'm sorry if I'm intruding, but you looked so cold, I couldn't let you stay like that," she adds afterwards. "Arigato gozaimasu," she replied. Not knowing what else to say, she moved closer trying to stay as warm as possible, only to bring a smile to the other woman's face. "What is your name, dear?" she asked warmly, looking at the tattered clothes and untidy hair. She could probably use a nice long shower and new, clean clothes, she thought. "My name is Haku," she responded, now as close as she could get without merging with the woman in front of her. She lowered her eyes shyly. "If I may ask yours." "My name is Suyako," she said, smiling with a mixture of happiness and sadness. "If you want, you can come back to my house for the night," she invited, though it more as a statement than a question. Gasping, Haku looked up at Suyako and saw her light blue eyes for the first time, filled with worry and concern. Do you really mean it?" she questioned with a little more happiness in her voice than she wanted to let on. Suyako nodded seriously. "Of course, why would I offer it if I didn't mean it?" she teased with the smile still on her face, only with more happiness. "And we can get you out of those awful tattered clothes," she added, starting to stand up with the girl still in her arms. "Okay," Haku almost shouted before realizing how loud she was and blushes slightly. "Arigato, again." "You're welcome," she said, smiling almost with complete happiness this time. "And if you ever need a place to stay, you can always come back," she added as she started to walk off in the direction of her house. As they reached a house that looked as if it has been there for 100 ages more than the rest, Suyako took out a key and unlocked the ancient door. It opened to reveal a beautiful interior, a light pink hallway, an almost orange roof. They walked in, and a nice soothing heat hit their bee, easing away the icy cold. The hallway led off in 3 directions, one towards what looked like a TV, most likely the living room, one the other side was a table that could seat 6 people easily, 9 if you tried to squish them in, probably the kitchen. Going through the 3rd door that was closest, led into another hallway. She walked down, Haku still in her arms, passing multiple doors on the way. She stopped at one door just before the end, and Haku then felt herself being let down. "Just in that room is the bathroom, it has a shower and everything, feel free to take a shower, a bath, or whatever else you want to do," Suyako said, smiling at her. Suyako turned the doorknob and pushed the door open. "There's shampoo, soap, and towels in there already, I'll go find you something to put on afterwards," she says walking away, going into another room, closing the door afterwards. "She is letting me stay here, whenever I want, and have a shower." Haku wasted no more time as she walked into the room and closed the door behind her. She then stripped off the ragged clothes and took out her makeshift hairpin, letting her hair fall down, which she hasn't had in years, to mid-back. She had horrible split ends and unkempt hair that stuck to her skin, for it was still wet, but would normally puff out, and it had a lot of knots, while the color was a very faded black. She walked up to the tub and turned on the water and felt it hot. She hadn't felt hot water like that for years, ever since that day when her father K her mother for having a kekai genkai, the day that she accidentally K everyone else. "Haku, are you doing okay in there?" It was Suyako. "I've found some clothes that should fit, are you decent?" she finishes. Hi. Haku replied, unlocking the door, she stepped back. Suyako stepped into the bathroom and closed the door, so that less heat would escape. "Oh my, you have such long hair," she sighed. "But it needs a lot of work. Here are the clothes," she said, handing Haku a simple pink kimono. "Arigato gozaimasu," she said, looking at her hostess, who had changed out of her rain gear and such. Haku could now see her deep purple hair that fell down to just past her shoulders, pulled into a ponytail at the center of her head, back, and form-fitting light blue clothes with a red belt, showing her curves and an average chest, a kunai pouch on her right thigh, and silver eyes. Smiling, Suyako walked out of the bathroom, closing the door and then walking off to get a hairbrush and some scissors. Returning a few minutes after, she knocks on the door again, but this time Haku opens the door fully dressed in the kimono that Suyako had brought her, almost fitting her perfectly. Her hair was back in her bun. "Ah, why do you cover your hair like that? I was going to help you fix your hair," she asked with a slight pout. She reached behind Haku's head and pulled out the pin that was holding her hair up, letting it fall down to her middle back again. "Gomen, I didn't know," Haku muttered as she was led to another room near the center of the hallway. As the door was opened, she saw a broom, dustpan, and the works, in one corner and a stool in the middle, with tables on both sides packed with everything a girl could ever need for hair, face, you name it, she could find it. "Don't worry," Suyako smiled happily. She got Haku to sit down on the chair and then set the brush down on a table. She walked around to the back of Haku and took all of her hair in one hand, bringing the scissors up, she see it off, hair falling to the ground, leaving Haku split end free. Haku gasped, wondering what she was doing, trying to look back to no avail. "What are you doing?" she asked, sounding helpless, desperately not wanting to lose her hair, even if it was in horrible shape. "I'm see off you split ends silly, I wouldn't just chop off all your hair," she said, putting down the scissors and picking up the brush. "I'm going to brush your hair now, is that okay?" Suyako asks. "Es sure," Haku responds, dumbfounded. Why is she being so nice to me? She asked herself as she felt a brush gently go down her hair, supported by a hand. When she got to the bottom, Suyako repeated said process. Eventually she finished this part and Haku's hair was unknotted. I'm not sure what to do with your faded hair color, we can always try just dyeing it, but that might make your hair worse, she pondered out loud. It doesn't matter that much, Haku said, starting to stand up. You've done so much already, I couldn't ask any more of you. She added, walking away from the supplies, hoping to get Suyako to stop being so mother-ish. Okay, I guess I'll stop playing with your hair then, dear, the purple-haired woman said. Walking over to the door, she opened it. I'll lead you to your room for the night, then. Wait, you must be starving, let me make you something. She added, walking out the door and down the hallway, looking back to see if Haku was following. Said person eventually walked towards her. They then walked over to the kitchen. Haku was completely amazed by the size of it. It could easily hold 20 people without even being the least bit crowded. There were 2 other tables, each able to seat at least 6 people each. The color had changed. It was a light blue, one that matched Suyako's clothes, and there was a door at the right side of the room, leading most likely to the food preparation area. Shugoi was all Haku could mutter out. Smiling happily at her now, hopefully, adopted, not legally or even talked about yet but, daughter's reaction, she said, this is only the dining room, the real kitchen in through that door. She said, pointing at the other door in the room, but you don't need to go in there yet, I'll go make us some food. She added as she walked over to the door and through it, to the kitchen where, not too long after, came delicious aromas. Coming out, over 30 minutes later, with 3 dishes, setting them, Haku was able to look at what was made. It was steak, 3 of them on one plate, 2 rare and 1 well done, eggs on another plate, some scrambled, others boiled, some moreover easy, and on the last plate there was chocolate and vanilla ice cream. Before sitting down, Suyako walked back into the kitchen and came out with 2 cups of what looked like hot chocolate. Eat up. I didn't know how you liked steaks or eggs, so I made all different kinds, she said, smiling at her, picking up one of the rare steaks. She bit into it, not even bothering with the plate, knife, and fork that she set out. She stopped tearing her meat up, noticing Haku looking at her funny. What? I'm not normal, okay, she said before going back to eating. Haku giggled lightly at this statement, and decided to follow her example. She took the other rare steak and ate it with her knife and fork. Eventually they finished their steak, eggs, ice cream, and hot chocolate. Suyako stood up and walks over to the door. Come with me, I'll show you to your room now, she said, still smiling. Haku got up and followed her, and they walked back to the hallway and went towards the first door on the left. Suyako let Haku open the door. Haku's jaw dropped opening the door, seeing a huge room, not as big as the dining room, actually half the size, but still very large. The room was light green, with queen-size bed that had plain sheets, but that doesn't matter much to Haku. There was a desk at the right of the room and a window behind the bed, which was at the wall farthest from Haku. There was a closet at the left of the room, doors open to show a walk-in closet big enough to be a room itself. Wow, she whispered. Suyako, now giggling, pushed her into the room. It's all yours. I'll be in the room at the end of the hall if you need me, she said, walking away and closing the door. Exhausted, they both crawled into bed and went to sleep. With Gaara and Makiko, Makiko walks back to the fire, and much like with Naruto and Hinata, placed the collected stuff into a barely recognizable pattern, doing hand seals, muttering the name of the jutsu, and having the cabin form. Now we have a place to sleep, all I have to do I get some food now. I'll be back again, Gaara, she said, walking off again, leaving Gaara to his thoughts. Makiko was quietly walking around the bush, trying to find an animal, not caring what type. She eventually stumbled upon a deer, which was grazing quietly in a small clearing. She slowed down even more, as not to disturb it. Taking a position close enough to it so she can jump on it, she activated red glowing chakra claws. Preparing for the final step, she got even closer, tensing her muscles. She leapt at it, glowing red claws at the ready. Hey! She leered evilly, the red claws lighting up her face in an eerie glow as they faded away. Picking up the deer's body, she walked back to the camp. You're back so soon? Gaara questioned, looking up at her, then seeing the deer in her hands. Yup, I have food too, she said excitedly for once, throwing the deer down at the fire. She pulled out a knife from her pocket and starts to tear off chunks of meat and place them near the fire to cook them. The smell of cooking flesh met with her nostrils and she inhaled deeply, loving the smell. Some time later the meat finished cooking and she took out a piece, handing it to Gaara, who took it, holding the hot meat in protectively sand-encrusted hands. Taking a bite he found that it didn't taste half bad and started to eat more. Makiko took another piece and devoured it rapidly. Eventually they both finished with the meal and they sat at the fire until it s down, not talking. Makiko, using a water jutsu, put out the flames were left, and went into the cabin. Gaara, if I seal the Ichibi so that he can't possess you, will you sleep? The Nibi asked. If I could sleep, I would. Gaara responded, walking over to Makiko. Can you seal him? Yes I will, that's why I offered it, she said, positioning herself in front of Gaara as fire seemed to appear from her fingers. This will hurt, she said. Goguafuan, 5 elements seal, she jammed her fingers into Gaara's seal, emitting screams from Gaara. As his demon is sealed away, you will have no access to Shukaku's power, defense or anything, she said after the sealing, which exhausted the person getting sealed more. If I can have a moment's peace, it's worth it, Gaara said as he walked into the house and found a place to sleep and fell down exhausted, falling asleep almost instantly. Following his example, Makiko went to another bed and fell asleep. In Konoha, Hokage-sama, why have to called me here? Asked Hiashi, standing in the Hokage's office. I called you here because I heard of your daughter being K. The Hokage said, sitting in his desk. Naruto has also gone missing. He added. I don't see why this is anything I should be concerned about. Hiashi stated, about to leave. Some of the villagers said they saw him playing with your daughter, and there was an attempt on his life. I thought maybe the two of them gone missing could be linked, he said, trying to get Hiashi to listen. If they are we will inform you, but so far there is nothing to link the two together. Hiashi responded coldly, walking out of the door. I guess Naruto, and probably Hinata too, are gone, not to come back, if even my Anbu couldn't find him, Sandaime thought sadly, trying to get back to the work that had built up, but failing miserably. Back with Naruto, Hinata, Hachibi, and Sanbi. That's not like him, Sanbi said, looking at the door. He's probably going to Myaoshu-sama. She thought. Well, I think we need some food, she says exuberantly, walking off into the forest. Well, they left again, Naruto states the obvious, looking around for something to do, finding nothing, he sat down on a log. Well now what should we do? He asked anything and everything around him. Hinata started trying to think of something for them to do, not being able to think of anything, she settled for sitting next to Naruto, and talking every now and then, as they waited for the girl to come back. Not having to wait long, she strolled in, carrying 2 deer on her shoulders. Nearly 15 minutes later, she started to skin the deer and got a fire going, using much the same technique as Makiko. She then started to put the meat around the fire. I love the smell of cooking flesh, said the Sanbi. If you say so, I'd rather just have the food cook. Naruto said, looking at the food in anticipation, eventually getting bored and looking for something else to do. About 15 minutes later the food was cooked and they all ate their fill before going into the cabin. They found an already sleeping Hachibi before the sword wielder cuddled in next to him. The other two found an empty bed each and fell asleep. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.